In this video, we are going to talk about 5 ways to raise your children so that they have a secure attachment style. I am Pauline and I am so happy you are here, truly, because it is amazing that you care about your children so much that you want to make sure you do everything you can to give them a secure attachment style. And you probably found this channel because you yourself have an insecure attachment style, and it is so hard raising children in a different way than how you were raised. It is learning so much while you're doing it and then getting triggered also in the process. I might actually talk more about this if you want to. I know not everybody that watches this channel has children, so I'm not sure how many of you are interested in this kind of content. So please let me know in the comments below, because I would love to talk about this and help you in raising your children in such a loving way that you are seeking. So first of all, I want to say that I find it challenging to raise my daughter because it is, I think, so logical that when it comes to raising children, you kind of default back to the way you were raised. So especially in the beginning, I noticed that I had to constantly correct whatever kind of came up instinctively towards my daughter. And I had to consciously choose a different reaction or choose a different way of going about it. That was pretty exhausting. And so I decided to heal even deeper, because I had healed the fearful avoidant attachment style when it came to my relationship to the best I could. I didn't notice it anymore at all in my relationship. And then having my daughter, I noticed there were different kinds of pain and trauma that came from my childhood that were triggered through her just being my daughter, giving birth to her, and having a baby that was completely dependent on me. And so I dove even deeper and I healed all of that. Now I don't have to very consciously correct what I instinctively want to do. It comes more naturally. So I want you to know it is possible to heal that too. And I want you to know it is very normal if this feels hard, because I think raising a child is hard already. And when you have a fearful avoidant attachment style yourself, and you're trying to do it in a different way than your parents did, this is pretty much Olympic level of raising children. So please give yourself credit for that. Please don't feel like you're failing or that this all should come natural. You are doing an amazing, amazing job just wanting to do this differently and seeking out ways that you can. So one of the pitfalls in knowing a lot about attachment styles that I definitely fell into when my daughter was born was that you want to be perfectionistic. You want to do everything right, and you just want to make absolutely sure that they don't get an insecure attachment style. While this is such an admirable and laudable thing to do, the pitfall is that you become perfectionistic in this, and that will hurt you, because this moment you're not perfect, you probably tend to navigate towards shame or guilt, and then retreat or have any other coping mechanism. But also what really helped me was just imagine that you would have an absolutely perfect parent that would do everything absolutely perfect. That would not benefit your child. You do not have to be perfect to create a secure attachment style. There are still so many people that have a secure attachment style, pretty much 50% of the world population as of now. And they definitely don't have perfect parents, because nobody is perfect. And so when I started reading more about attachment styles, specifically in raising children, I read once that when you 30% of the time tune into what your child needs and kind of go with the flow of what your child's needs are, then you are already creating the base for a secure attachment style. So you don't have to do it perfectly 100% of the time. It is impossible. Nobody does that, and it is not needed for a secure attachment style. So having said that you definitely don't have to be perfect, there are a couple of things that you can do consciously that will build that base even stronger, which also creates more room for you to sometimes make mistakes and mess up and then repair. Because that is a very important part of creating a secure attachment style, being able to repair. So when you are perfect, you will never have to repair, and your child won't learn that, and they will have this pressure of having to be perfect. So actually messing up and then showing how you repair that is helping your child in creating a secure attachment style. So please do mess up from time to time. So the 5 things that you can consciously do to create a secure attachment style is first of all, and this is specifically for those that have had an upbringing that created the fearful avoidant attachment style, which makes the chance that one of your parents or caregivers had the fearful avoidant attachment style, makes it more likely. The first thing is, do not care what others think about you, about your child, about what your child does, about what it looks like, what your child looks like. So put your child's needs before other grown-ups. There are a couple of things that a lot of fearful avoidant parents do, and these 5 things are kind of the secure attachment way of going about it. So a fearful avoidant parent, who would in turn create probably a fearful avoidant attachment style in their child, would be very worried about what other people think, and they would put the needs of other adults before their children. So that would look like, for instance, that you would force your child to give a hug or a kiss to their auntie, even if they don't want to, which in turn teaches them that what they want doesn't matter, and what they feel in their body about what they want doesn't matter. But also being embarrassed by your children in public, or being embarrassed because you can't control your children, which is a very big thing for fearful avoidant parents usually, that will cause you to lash out to your child. And being afraid that other people will think your child is spoiled, for instance, that is a big one too for a lot of fearful avoidant parents. So the opposite of this, which a lot of secure attached parents have, is that they don't care what other adults think of their child. They put their child's needs before the other adults because they know that adults should be able to regulate their own emotions. They should be able to handle any kind of uncomfortable feelings. And their responsibility, their role as a parent, is to help their child learn that and guide them through that process. So they aren't preoccupied with what other adults think or feel or need in that moment, because they know that other adults are very well capable, or should be capable, to take care of themselves. What they are focused on is my child. What does my child need in this moment? This is an uncomfortable situation. How is my child feeling? How can I guide them through this? Do they want to give a kiss and a hug even when auntie or grandma is asking for that? No, when they don't want to, they don't have to. And when that creates an uncomfortable situation, I will be the one to handle that, so that my child can see how that is done, and that their needs matter, and that it is totally okay to not give a kiss or a hug when you don't want to. So you put your child's needs before what anybody else thinks. And I have to say that this feels so freeing, being brought up in a very different way, with my parents, one parent more than the other, being very afraid of what other people thought and how that would reflect on them. So one of my parents would be really occupied with whether they could control me, and whether I would come across as spoiled or too much or dramatic, or I would overreact. And they were scared of me becoming that way because of what that would look like for them, how that would project on them. So they would be scared that other people would think they were a bad parent. And that for me created a lot of tension, obviously, for not and being allowed to be who I was and have the emotions that I had, and being forced to behave a certain way. So, as a lot of fearful avoidants have. So, just not caring what other people think, other adults think, because now I know that a secure, attached individual, a secure, attached adult would just accept a child and would accept that children are children, and you cannot expect emotional regulation from them. You cannot expect them to be perfect. You cannot expect them to sit still and be quiet all the time. Or you just know that other securely attached individuals have so much more capacity to just accept a child the way it is and just be like, oh, well, this is what it is right now, and you don't have to control that. You don't have to control a child. So I kind of expect that from other adults, that they have understanding and they have empathy in whatever situation towards my child. And if they don't, I know that that's their own thing, that's their own struggle, and I don't judge them for it, but I know it's also not my responsibility to make them feel comfortable. And that just gives me so much freedom to just focus on my child and be there for my child, which feels really good. Then the second one is hold space for emotions, especially big emotions. So my daughter is 2 now, which is the age of the tantrums and the big emotions. And I don't really even see them as tantrums anymore. Because I know that, that has such a negative association with it, a negative connotation. So I just see it as, she wants something, she doesn't get it, that's just an emotional reaction that comes out, and that's totally logical and totally fine. That is completely appropriate for her developmental phase. And so I don't try to correct her or make her feel wrong or say she shouldn't feel this way or she shouldn't be shouting and screaming and yelling no. I'm there for her. And I allow her to cry, or I am there for her for as long as she needs to cry. I don't try to shush her. I don't try to tell her it's all right. I don't try to distract her, because I know it's very important for her to just get those emotions out of her body. So just holding space for emotions, whatever they are, being there and not trying to fix or judge or correct or suppress or try to make it any different than it is also freeing in a way, because I know I don't have to do anything. And that gives the freedom of it not having to be a certain way. Because as I think back now, I think my fearful avoidant parents had such a hard time with me being a child, because they had a certain image of what I should be in their mind. And anytime I wasn't that would probably be kind of a panic moment for them. And those big emotions, they were trying to control that. And that is something that is uncontrollable. That is just what toddlers do. So they would probably feel like they failed a lot because I still had those emotions. So it is very freeing for me to be able to just be there for her, and nothing has to happen. It doesn't have to go a certain way. I don't have to get her to calm down or quiet down as fast as possible. I don't have to. Her body just knows what to do, and I allow that to happen. And that just takes a lot of pressure away. I remember before I became a mom, years and years and years ago, I would think, oh man, I don't know if I would be a good parent because I don't know if I could handle the power struggle. And now I think there's no power struggle. I don't participate in any power struggles. I just look at what she needs, which kind of brings me to my third point. This is a bridge to my third point, is to seek to understand behavior instead of judging it. So where a fearful avoidant parent would try to control behavior to go the way they think it should go, I learned that the secure attached way of going about it is to seek to understand the behavior. So if my child would do something that I don't understand, I wouldn't say, you can't do that, you have to quiet down, sit down, whatever. I would try to observe and see what is beneath this behavior. And now she's starting to talk and actually can communicate her needs, which is amazing. And so I talk to her and I just listen without judgment, which will obviously, as she grows older, become more and more of a way to seek to understand her behavior. But when she wasn't verbal yet, I just tried to observe and see what was going on and kind of tune in and use my intuition where I could. And so many times, if she wasn't willing to, whatever it was, to sleep, for instance, I would just remind myself she's not doing this on purpose. She is struggling and I am here to help her. I need to understand what is happening. She's not doing anything on purpose. And this is a mantra that I will keep repeating for the rest of her life, because I truly believe that children are never doing anything to break the connection on purpose, because breaking the connection is very scary for a child that is so dependent on you. So when they do that, or when they seem to do that, there's always something beneath that, a lot of pain or hurt or a deep need that is not fulfilled. And it is my job as a parent to seek to understand and to guide instead of to judge, and to control. So that really kind of helped me to in staying in contact with her, or staying in connection with her, which is just a lovely thing. And I can see her relaxing into that. When she's struggling, she seeks me out, and I can just tell that she feels safe, and that is an amazing feeling. And I think that really is in part to that I seek to understand instead of seeking to judge and control. Not saying, by the way, that I am perfect or even good at all of this. I am learning. I am stumbling along, as I think are a lot of parents. And I would never want you to feel like I have it all figured out and I'm doing perfectly, because every phase brings new challenges. Every phase is triggering in a different way also. So there will be a lot of moments that I will still have to learn and have to be very humbled and and correct what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. So that was the third one. The fourth one is what is very important is to know the developmental phases. A lot of fearful avoidant parents expect way too much from their children. Like I mentioned before, my daughter is 2. She has tantrums. She has no way of emotionally regulating herself. I know that that's just not in her system, and that tantrums are actually a very healthy part in development that they have to go through. So when you try to control that and try to make them stop having the tantrum, it kind of like halts their developmental their development, which causes them to suppress their emotions and to start leaving their body and going into their heads all the time. So knowing the developmental phases and what you can and cannot expect from your child is very important, which helps you in seeking to understand instead of judge. Because I think if you don't know the developmental phases, then it is so much easier to judge and to expect things and then to be disappointed and give your child the feeling that they are doing it wrong or they are not good enough. So knowing what is normal in what phase is just very important. And I see this as one of the biggest differences between my parents' parent, who is a fearful avoidant, probably, and my husband's parents. My husband has a secure attachment style, and his parents, they know the developmental phases. They probably had that passed down from generation on to generation, where they will just say, oh yeah, but everybody has that, or that's very normal at this age. And they also say that to my daughter, which is amazing to see and to hear. So that really helps. And then another thing I didn't put down, but is very important as I am telling this, what my mother-in-law does also, which I really believe contributes to a secure attachment, is she always makes my daughter feel like she is not weird, and this is not the only she is not the only one that experiences this. So she says things like, oh, that just happens, that's okay, everybody has that from time to time, or that's not a big thing at all. I'm trying to translate it to English as I'm speaking. But hearing those things on a regular basis starts to create that voice in your head. And as a mother of a daughter, I am very aware that the way I speak to my daughter is the voice that she will have in her head for the rest of her life. So I try my hardest to always um, make sure that the way I speak to her is comforting. So I take on what my mother-in-law does, and just keep telling her that whatever happens, that's fine. Everybody has that, because it's true. You're never the only one, and that um takes away shame. When you know that you are never weird, whatever happens, you are never different than other people, it really helps in not creating shame and guilt. Whereas with a fearful avoidant upbringing, shame and guilt are actually used as a tactic to raise you right. And you are made to feel different so that you will oblige and that you will adapt your behavior to the way your parent thinks that you should behave to be accepted by the world. So they don't do this to be mean. They want you to be accepted by the world. But what the secure attached parent knows is, when I accept my child the way they are, they will find the people in the world that will accept them. So where the fearful avoidant parent tries to manipulate or create or change their child so that they will be accepted by a world that they think that they created in their mind, the way they think the world works, the secure attached parents will work on showing their child that they are worthy of acceptance by showing that example, by accepting them themselves, so that they will find the people, the safe people, the secure attached people that will accept them, because they know that the world is not one thing. There are people who are very loving and very accepting, and there are people who are judgmental. And the securely attached parent will focus on making sure their child knows that they are worthy of that acceptance and that they are worthy of that love. So that is a big difference also. Then the last one is that you set boundaries, because being unconditional doesn't mean that you don't set boundaries. I think that's a very big misconception. But the difference, what I have learned, is that you set boundaries and you allow the reaction. So I always thought that you have to set boundaries, and then when your child gets angry, you have to make sure that they don't get angry, or you get angry because they react in that way. And you don't have to. You can just say, no, we're not going to do that. And your child can really not like it and yell and scream, and that's fine. And you can even empathize with that reaction and say, oh yeah, I can totally understand that this is upsetting to you, that this is not what you wanted, and we're not going to do it. And be there for them while they are going through these big emotions. A fearful avoidant parent would probably tell them no and then get angry for having a negative reaction to it, which teaches the child that I'm not allowed to want things and have any reaction to it. So you kind of just start suppressing it. So these are just 5 or 6 things that I have learned, and I am trying to put into practice, practice what I preach. And it does get so much easier when you heal and when you are healed, because I am much less triggered than I know I would be if I would have had her 10 years ago. That would have been a completely different ballgame. So it's much easier to just read these things, learn these things, and then immediately put them into practice. Whereas if all that trauma would still be very active in my system, it would be harder. And then also, still trauma is triggered, and it is a healing journey, I think, for every parent, pretty much. For the very specific things that relate to to this relationship dynamic, which is completely different than the equal relationship you have with a partner. So it's a journey, isn't it? It's such a journey, and it's a beautiful one. And I love being a mom now. Um, for the first year, I was struggling because I wanted to be perfect at it, and I felt like I was failing. But when I started healing that more and more, um, yeah, now I enjoy it so much. I love doing it, and yeah, my daughter's amazing. That helps. So please let me know in the comments below if this is content that you value, that you want to know more of, because I could talk about this for days. And it is very important, but I want to know if there are a lot of parents watching, or maybe if it's interesting to hear, to help you heal also that little child inside of you. So let me know in the comments below how this was for you. And if you want to heal the fearful avoidant attachment style to help yourself um, make it easier to be a parent, to be less triggered, and also help your child to have a secure attachment style. So just invest in yourself, in your relationship with your child, and in your child's future. Please check the link in the description below for my online program, Healed and Happy, because it is such a gift to give yourself and future generations, to break this cycle, this generational pattern that gets passed on from generation to generation, and to break that chain and to really do it differently in the first place for you, because I really want you to do it for yourself and invest in yourself in that way. And then in the second place, definitely for your children, and give that gift to future generations of having a secure attachment and a very loving childhood, where you do the things that you know will help them create a secure attachment style. As always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.